leadership where you felt like the conversation was just completely just going out of control, out of control. In this video, I want to share with you a few strategies, two specifically, that will help you be able to be that person that can gain control over a conversation that appears that it is going to go out of control. This topic specifically is going to provide you with some very unique insights that you may not have heard about before. And that is the reason why hopefully you are subscribed to the channel, because I share with you advanced communication skills and strategies that will help you be that person that can communicate confidently and concisely under pressure as a leader. Now, my audience specifically wants to learn more about this. And I had a conversation with a colleague of mine, which is why I want to bring this specific type of situation to your attention so that you know you can learn how to control a conversation just by doing these two strategies I want to share with you. Now, if you are new to me, welcome, welcome. I'm glad that you are here. You are likely watching the first part of this video, which is me saying hello. This is a live video, and if you are a subscriber or a follower of mine, welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here. There's typically a point in time where the audience will join our conversation. Therefore, give me just a few moments so I can say hello to everyone, and we're going to get started into this particular topic. Now, as I mentioned, when you need to control a conversation, if it's going out of control, you feel like it's not going in the right direction, that is when you need to talk about what do we need to do. Now, I want to know from you, from those of you watching, have you ever been in a conversation where you felt like it was going out of control? I have you? Because this happens from time to time. And I'm going to share with you some scenarios as to when you need to be aware that a conversation may go out of control and when you need to probably bring more control to it, and give you two strategies that will help you be able to start gaining control of a conversation. Now, there's many strategies. I will have to share with you this. There's many strategies that will be required to control a conversation. I'm just sharing with you two today. If you want to learn a lot more, you're always welcome to subscribe to the channel and gain as much insight as you can. I'm sharing with you all over 20 years worth of experience as a C-suite executive, a director, a public speaker, and an executive coach to help you be that person that communicates at a higher level than your peers, not the person that is the average communicator. So there's a couple scenarios that may come up when you are at a point where you need to gain control of a conversation. In the comments below, let me know of a couple scenarios that you can think of where you may want to gain control over a conversation. Let me know. I want to say hello to Matthew Swizzler. Hello, Matthew. How you doing today? We have the Warriorettes Drill Team 1448. Welcome, welcome. How y'all doing today? Feel free to let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And if you have ever been in a conversation where you felt like the conversation was going out of control, have you ever been in that type of situation? We're going to talk about it today, and I'm going to share with you some scenarios as to when you might want to be mindful that a conversation may go out of control, or when you specifically need to make sure the conversation is in control. And then I'm going to share with you two strategies today that will help you be able to do that. All right, let me see what's going on. We have Cheedy 2020 says, hi there. Hello, Cheedy. Hope you're doing well today. Matthew Swizzler says, hi there, and I'm a girl. Well, hello, welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. And the Warriorettes Drill Team, that is a very interesting name, Fred. 1448 says, I am a big fan. Well, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you. High five. Thank you for being here and being a fan. Hopefully you're subscribed to the channel. This is a topic that is definitely more of an advanced communication type of technique. And if you want to be that person, that leader that stands out from everybody else, you want to learn not your average communication skills. You want to learn the skills that will help you to communicate under pressure. That is the part of communication that people, fail to remember. You hear about this, and let me know in the comments below. Have you heard someone say you need to communicate better? You need to learn communication skills. Let me know if you all have heard that before. Have you heard of that before? I've heard of that. But what people fail to remember is, yes, you have to communicate better as a leader. You absolutely do. However, what happens when this conversation goes under pressure? That's what's missing, and that's why you subscribe to the channel. All right, let me see what else is going on in the chat, and then we're going to go ahead. Thank you for the heart emojis. We're going to talk about scenarios when you may want to get ready to control the conversation, and other scenarios, and specifically 2 strategies just to help you for today. Okay, so we have Matthew Swizzler says, how are you doing today? Matthew, I'm doing fantastically well. I hope you are doing well also. The Warriorettes drill team. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for the play button. Olive Juice, welcome, welcome. How are you doing today? I actually mentioned you yesterday during our live in the afternoon. So good to see you again, Olive. Glad to see you here, friend. And appreciate you being here. All right, the Warriorettes drill team says, hi, hi, hi. Hello, hello. Olive Juice says, right now we're working on giving feedback under pressure. Okay, fantastic. Well, Olive Juice, if you have some questions, let me know. Let me know. Let's talk about them. Give me any scenarios. I have about 20 minutes or so before I have to go on to another call. But let me know, and I will definitely give you some insight today. Melissa Savory 2704. Hello, welcome, Melissa. How you doing today? The Warriorettes drill team 1448 says, I subscribe. Well, thank you. Welcome to the exceptional group of leaders. My main target audience that I work with in terms of my executive coaching and consulting practice are women in leadership. However, on many of the accounts that I have social media wise, I have men in leadership. I have individuals that are leaders that are not leaders just yet. So I welcome you all being here. I'm really appreciative of you, and I'm here to support you any way that I can. I genuinely believe that people become great by how they communicate. And my mission here on this earth is to unlock the greatness within you. And so I will do that by showing you these very advanced communication skills strategies that will make you stand out for everybody else. Okay, Melissa Savory says, hi. Melissa Savory 2074 says, girl, you're gorgeous. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And the Warriorettes drill team says, subscribe to her. Well, thank you. I appreciate the promotion, the Warriorettes dream team. Thank you so much. So let's talk about this. There's a couple scenarios, and let me know in the comments below what scenarios do you think that you may want to control a conversation. Let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about them. I'll give you just 1 or 2 to start. If you're in a conversation and someone tells you they need to talk to you about your performance as a leader, you want to try to get ready to control the conversation. If you have a scenario that comes up where you are having a difficult conversation, so for instance, Olive Juice mentioned earlier that they were giving feedback under pressure. This is a time where you need to control a conversation. Let me know in the comments below what you think, but those are just a couple scenarios as to when you need to control a conversation. Now, I do want to go into 2 skills for you, but let me see what's going on in the chat. Melissa Savory 2704 says, I have to go, but get it. Well, thank you. Well, I hope you subscribe, Melissa. And if you have any questions on any of the videos, feel free to let me know. I'm here to support you. I will do a video just for you to give you some insights to help you on your journey. Okay, so we talked about a couple scenarios that will come up specifically where you may need to control a conversation. If you know you're having a difficult conversation, or let's say a conversation has escalated to a higher level, then this is something that you absolutely need to control a conversation. So let's talk about the 2 skills, 2 strategies I want you to think about when you're in that situation. Melissa Savory 2704 says, have a good night, girl. Well, thank you, Melissa. I hope you have a good night as well, and I appreciate you being here and hope to see you soon. Alrighty, the two strategies. As I mentioned at the very beginning of the live before you all joined, there are many strategies that you want to keep in mind as you are trying to control a conversation. But I'm only going to share 2 with you today because that's the time I have for you today. Now, the first strategy that will help you be able to start controlling a conversation is to ask questions. I know this may sound a bit odd, but believe it or not, the more questions you ask, the more you control a conversation. Let me give you an example of what happened to me years ago when I was working as a W-2. I was in a conversation with a manager, I will say. And the conversation we were having was a conversation as it relates to some challenges they were having at this particular office at that time. There was a lot of mismanagement of the schedule, and I was impacted by that. I was not the one making the schedule issues or challenges. I was just there basically as, I would say, an innocent bystander, because I just was there working, but the schedule was not reflecting the way it was supposed to have been. So let me share with you exactly what I did to control the conversation. But something came up in the chat. Cookville Taxi, welcome back. How are you doing today? Good to see you again. Cookville Taxi says, hi, good to see you again. I said the same thing. Good to see you again. Glad to see you. Now, what did I do? The way the conversation was structured, and this literally happened to me. So I'm sharing with you over 20 years worth of experience to handle and manage these very under pressure situations. The person I spoke to, that was the manager, was trying to say that, well, we're having problems with the schedule, but it's not really the staff's fault. We want to make sure that everything is working the way that it's supposed to, that the doctors are doing this and the doctors are doing that. So subtly, she was trying to say the schedule, even though I have nothing to do with the schedule, was my fault, even though it was not my fault. Now, what did I do? This is one of those situations where you're listening to it, and I did not know this was a conversation that was going to be had, but I listened to it and I said, this conversation could potentially go under pressure. Like, you just pick it up initially and say, something does not seem right. I feel like I'm about to go on defense. I need to be ready for it. Now, what did I do? Let me show you what I did specifically, but let me see what's going on in the chat. Cookville Taxi says, how are you doing? I'm doing fantastically well, friend. I'm actually very excited to be getting back into my live routine after last week. I hope you are doing well. How are you doing today, Cookville Taxi? Okay, as I mentioned, the manager, thank you for the heart emojis, basically told me there's a problem with the scheduling. We want to make sure the doctors are doing this, the doctors are doing that, and subtly was trying to say the schedule's my fault. Even though I have no control over the schedule, it's not. What did I do? I knew that I was basically going to be on defense. And so this is what I did to control the conversation. I first asked questions. And sometimes you may think this might not, you may think like, how in the world do you do this? You have to ask questions in a very fast way. Not necessarily fast in terms of how you say the question, because you want the question to be heard, but you want to say them consecutively without a lot of break. So I'm going to go more into that in a moment, but I want to say hello to Robert Mazibuko L7C. Hello, Robert. How you doing today? Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you all are joining from today. As I mentioned, you can ask questions in a very consecutive, fast way. You don't want to ask one question and then wait for 10 minutes and ask another one. No, if you're trying to control a conversation and you know that this conversation, perhaps you're on defense or someone's trying to argue with you or you're having a difficult conversation, how you ask your questions has to be pretty quick. So for example, I'll give you an example of what I did. When this came up, I said, can you please explain to me exactly how you came to this conclusion? And the manager said, well, I came to this conclusion by saying X, Y, Z, and I saw this. And I said, oh, excuse me. What specifically happened? Because that doesn't sound like the explanation that you're sharing with me. And the manager said, oh, okay, well, we actually did a couple things in the schedule, and we're talking to the team and doing that. And I said, okay, that's good to know. Can you please explain to me what changes you're going to be making here very soon? And she said, oh, well, we're working on it. We're working on a couple things. We know there's a few things we got to work on. There's a couple conversations we have to have. So I said, well, when is this supposed to take place? Because my understanding is there's a concern with the schedule and you're wanting to make sure the doctors are doing what they're supposed to do. So can you please give me some insight in terms of when this change or these things are going to be taking place? Well, I don't have an exact date on it just yet. It's just something that we're working on. It should be something happening really, 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 really soon. So these are some things I did, and thank you for the heart emojis, to ask those questions in a consecutive way. And let me explain to you what happened. I want to say hello, Rogan DMT Diaries Says, nah, I can't believe the manager said that. Oh, right, exactly. You know that manager said that. Good to see you, Rogan. Hope you're doing well. Cookville Taxi says, I have to go, and I hope you have a good night. I will see you tomorrow. Well, have a good night, Cookville Taxi. I appreciate you being here. Rogan DMT Diary says, good night, Cookville. All right, well, awesome. Great. Now, let me know in the comments below, have you ever been in a situation like this? Thank you for the heart emojis and the 100s. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like your conversation was going out of control? Or you may have had a conversation with a manager or someone else that is pretty much giving you a hard time about something. Has it happened to you before? I'm sharing with you, this happened to me years ago, and this is what I did to control the conversation. I did not give this person a break to answer my questions. I kept going and kept going and kept going. Now, I know this may feel a bit weird and it may feel a bit awkward initially when you do it, but I'm sharing with you what has helped me when I have been in those situations where I needed to control a conversation. Because what happened? The manager spoke to me directly about this scheduling issue that apparently was my fault as a doctor. So she was in control of the conversation because she is the one that is relaying the information to me that I'm doing something incorrectly. However, I turned the conversation around so that she is the one answering the questions, not me. Because if you can do that, this is a way for you to control the conversation. You have to pretty much ask those questions relatively quickly after each other and be prepared to ask those questions because it will literally put the person off guard. Now, I will say this. If you're subscribed to my channel or you've worked with me as a client, this is what I do. This is my expertise. This is the reason why I'm so passionate about learning how to communicate under pressure, because I know many of you are either women in leadership. In my direct audience, I provide executive coaching and consultation services too, or you may be a man in leadership. I know you all deal with these situations, and I don't want you necessarily to be the average communicator. I want you to be the person that can communicate under pressure. And this is an under pressure situation. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions, ask more questions. If you feel like you're in that situation where you just need to control the conversation, because basically what you're doing is you are overwhelming the person that is trying to give you a hard time and asking them questions that they need to respond to. Most of the time, when leaders are coming to talk to you, and this is just, I'm sharing this with you as a former C-suite executive in a large organization, I'm sharing this with you that most of the time when you have those situations, let's say if you're having a challenge with your manager or direct report or etc., most of the time they are not prepared for this conversation to go in a different direction. They're coming in, they wrote everything down they want to talk to you about, and then they sit down with you and they have a conversation and they think that you're just going to say, oh, okay, I understand, sure, I understand. But they're not expecting you to ask them questions back. So if you can ask questions back, this is a way for you to be able to control a conversation, because you're going to pretty much put that person where they are off guard and they were like, whoa, I didn't expect for Rogan or Olive Juice or Robert or anyone or Cookville Taxi or anyone to ask me so many questions when I'm trying to talk to them. So this is how you can control a conversation. Oftentimes, people are not prepared for that. They're just not prepared for questions. So if you can ask them quickly, back to back, and have those questions in your mind. So if you know you're speaking to someone and you know you're not sure, let's say you have no idea that this person is putting you under pressure. You have no clue. Has this ever happened to you before? It's happened to me many times. That's why I'm sharing this with you. But if you don't know you're going under pressure, always keep the data in your mind. If you're going to be meeting with this person, then think about their role and what are some things they're doing really well? What are some things that can be improved? Therefore, when you have that conversation and you are suddenly put on guard that, okay, I'm about to go under pressure, then you can be ready to quickly ask those questions, because that's what's going to throw people off guard if you need to control a conversation where someone's giving you a hard time. Now, let me know in the comments below, have you ever been in these situations? I know I'm not the only leader that's been in these situations. So let me know if you've had this happen to you before. If you did a different strategy than what I mentioned in terms of controlling a conversation, then put it in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Let's grow together as a community so that we are all learning from each other, regardless of where we are in the world. There's always aspects of communication that we can learn from each other. So let me know what happened to you in that situation. Now, I mentioned I was going to share with you 2 strategies. So this is my second one. So let's say you have a scenario happen where you have a very contentious conversation that is happening. Let's say it's escalated and it's went from 0 to 100 relatively quickly. What are some of the things you can do, or one strategy I would share with you that will help you be able to gain control over a conversation? I want to give you an insight. Typically, when you have someone that is very upset and very angry and very mad, they are wanting you to come back and argue with them. Most of the time they do. They want somebody to just argue back with them and talk back with them and etc. However, if you can be my favorite strategy, which is silent, when they are getting upset or acting out of line, this is another strategy, another way for you to control the conversation. You may be wondering, well, why? Well, how does silence control a conversation? I've mentioned this many times on the channel. Most people in the world are not comfortable with silence in a conversation. It feels very awkward. They don't know how to say it. They don't know they don't know what's going on. It's just something that many people are very, very uncomfortable with. If you are more comfortable with silence than the person that's arguing with you or that's upset, then it makes the person, one, feel like you're listening to them if they're upset, but then 2, it provides you with an advantage in the conversation because you can stay silent while they are upset. This is a way to control a conversation, because if you are having that contentious discussion with someone and let's say they're upset and they're arguing with you, or maybe they elevate your voice somewhat and you are staying silent, then it shows the person that you are up here. I'm not coming up there with you. I'm going to stay right here. I'm not going to come up here with you. And I'm not going to raise my voice and elevate and do all those type of things that are ridiculous. It brings a sense of control, and people usually start to calm down because they realize that, one, they look silly because they're raising their voice and they're being upset. And then 2, they realize that, wait, this person is not going to argue with me. So I guess I might as well just stop. I've had this happen many times. I've done this many times. And the only time that I will say something in a conversation when I feel like when the person is upset and angry is if they're disrespectful or if they're raising their voice too loud. I will tell them, I will completely stop that, and the conversation is about to end. And we're gonna stop this conversation now professionally and politely, or I'm calling the police. Like, one of the 2 scenarios, that's what I personally have done. Those are the times when I will break silence in those situations. So let me see, something came in the chat. Olive Juice says, if my boss stays silent, I get real calm and take the opportunity to slowly explain my experience. Absolutely. I appreciate you so much for bringing that insight. And yes, that is a really good insight to keep in mind, because that's what you can do. If your boss stays silent, as you mentioned, you get really, really calm, because sometimes you have to be able to gauge a conversation. And if your boss is silent and you stay very calm, then it's almost similar to what I talk about on the Cowboy. And I know Olive Juice, you're a subscriber to the channel and you follow the channel, so you know how I am about the Cowboy. And if for those of you who don't know the Cowboy, I have an analogy that I have as it relates to making eye contact, especially if you think about cowboys that are here in the United States. And it's almost similar to that, because you're waiting. If someone else is silent and you're silent, then they're wondering, well, how long is this person going to be silent? And shouldn't I say something? So it's almost who is going to break the silence first, who is going to start talking about something first. So Olive Juice, I think that's fantastic that you do that and you stay very calm. And that is such an important part of being under pressure is staying calm. And a great way that Olive Juice mentioned it is to talk about your experience and explain what's going on in a calm way to where the person understands that the individual that's speaking is starting to develop an executive presence, and they have to listen to this person. They know that this is not the average leader that I'm speaking to, which is the reason why hopefully you subscribe to the channel. Olive Juice says if they change it shifts. Okay, if they change it, shift, you need to, oh, okay, let me see. You said if they change or shift, you need to assess yourself immediately. Yes, that is very, very important. So let me give you an example. There is a situation that happened. I just saw this today where one of the representatives in Minnesota was doing a town hall, and she was speaking. I think her name, Representative Ilhan Omar. She was speaking, and while she was speaking, there was a man in the front row. Did you all see this? I want to know if you all see this. There's a man in the front row that literally got up and sprayed something on her, and then of course, he tackled down. But what you mentioned, Olive Juice, is something that people just sometimes they just don't do. And I appreciate you so much for bringing this up, because a key part of staying under pressure, and I know it's a bit more than what we're going to talk about today, is really being very observant in terms of what's going on. Many people take it for granted and they think, oh, I'm going to an event, I'm going to talk to my boss, or etc. You have to always be ready. You have to be ready to know what's going on, how has this changed, what can happen, and etc. So for instance, in her case, for Ilhan Omar, she got sprayed. She was sprayed. The man was right there in front of her and she was sprayed. Now, there's a lot of times in situations, because I've worked with public officials before, especially congressional members before, the highest levels of government here in the United States, when I was communicating with the Senate Majority Leader at the time. A lot of times when you're in these very small type of settings, there's not a lot of room for you to be able to have space between your audience. And thank you for the heart emojis. And that's okay. But in this particular situation, one of the things that I'm a big proponent of, especially when it comes to public speaking, is having a bit more structure in terms of your remarks. But I'm going to go into that in just a second. So Olive Juice says, I'm passionate, so I have to make sure I'm not too passionate. And the fact that you know that, Olive Juice, is what sets you apart and makes you an amazing leader. Because if you have that awareness that you are very, very passionate, knowing that there's times where you need to show that passion, depending on the project, depending on the conversation you're having, there's certain times where you need to show emotion. You just have to. You can't be stoic all the time. There's some times where you need to do it, but you do it strategically in terms of when you show that emotion. But being very passionate and knowing that, okay, I need to reserve myself with this particular topic is definitely a way to start mastering communication under pressure. And Olive Juice says, aware. Yeah, exactly. You have to be very aware. So one of the things that I do as a public speaker, and I've done this since I was in dental school, and this is a long time ago now, I typically do not use notes when I am speaking to you. I'm used to speaking impromptu. I've been trained to do that. I'm used to that. But specifically in a situation where you're meeting with other people, and to help you be more aware, if you are sitting there constantly just looking down at your notes, there's a point in time where you do not see anything. You may see it in your peripheral and looking up, but by that time it might be too late. And I know you may be thinking, well, I thought we're just talking about controlling conversations. No, I've been in these situations that have been very contentious, and I'm sharing this with you from experience and something that just happened. I don't know when I believe it just happened yesterday, possibly yesterday, I believe. But if you're reading from notes and you're looking down and someone's coming this way, it's almost too late because you're looking down. So I'm very big on speaking from either you memorize what you have to say, or you just speak from yourself and speak in a very conversational way, because this is so incredibly important in any type of situations, because you just never know. Just as Olive Juice mentioned, You have to be able to observe when someone starts to shift their body movements and assess it very, 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 very quickly, because this is something that people do not talk about on YouTube. I'm telling you this. This is the reason why you're hopefully subscribed to the channel, because there's public speaking, okay? There's public speaking. There's plenty of organizations out there. There's plenty of people on YouTube that will talk about public speaking. But are they talking to you about public speaking in the event that something happens? What happens if you are speaking to a group of people? What happens if you're speaking to your boss? What happens if you're speaking to a couple of coworkers? This is the part that I've found as it relates to communicating under pressure that oftentimes people do not think about. These situations do happen. This situation with Representative Omar, that just happened yesterday, and she literally was sprayed with some chemical they said smelled horribly bad, and she was literally right in front of this man that just came up and just got up and sprayed her, and she was reading from her notes. Of course, I just don't do that. I don't read from my notes. I don't like doing that because I need to have my eyes on everything while I'm speaking to a group of people. That's just, in my very humble opinion, if you're trying to communicate and be that leader, identify what it is you need to talk about and store it in your mind so that you can have, you know what you want to say, but you can have your eyes looking around at everything so that you can do, as Olive Juice mentioned, in terms of being able to assess when you see things start to go in a different direction, especially with someone's body language. Olive Juice says, I got a 4.0 in public speaking. Awesome, Olive Juice. Fantastic. High five, friend. That is amazing. Well, good job with that. Olive Juice says, I can't believe it because today I'm terrified of it now. Oh, wow, really? Well, let's talk. You know, you're always welcome to reach out to me. But if you got a 4.0 in public speaking, that means you have the fundamentals to speak at that level. If you're feeling a bit terrified of it, then that's something we could definitely talk about for sure, to see why is it that you feel terrified of it and what are some things that we can do to help you not feel so terrified about speaking in public. This is one of those skills that will change your life. I've talked about this on the channel. Public speaking will absolutely change your life. So it's something that I know you're amazing as a leader. It's something that you will work on putting on your list of things to master, and you will definitely by subscribing to the channel and just working together possibly. But it's something that you can absolutely do. There's just a lot that goes with it. There's your basic public speaking, but then there's the next level of it and the next level of it and the next level of it. And that's just what I want to make sure I share with you all, because I just don't want you to be that person that is the average speaker. I don't want you to be the average speaker. I want you to be the person that says, wow, I really want to talk to Olive Juice. Olive Juice is amazing, and I want to make sure I have Olive Juice at the event, and etc. But you have to be prepared to go under pressure, though. Okay, so Olive Juice says, I want to become a professional speaker, and I spoke with her today about training. They gave us funds for pro development. Oh, that's great. Well, first, you can become a professional public speaker. Olive Juice, you're always welcome to reach out to me. Either send me a message on Instagram at Excite Excellence, Dr. Jacinta Lamatai on LinkedIn, and Excite Excellence on LinkedIn. And I'm also on Facebook. Also, you can contact me anytime, and let's talk about how we can get you where you want to be. Becoming a professional speaker, it takes a little time, but it takes strategy and just being able to navigate those situations. There's plenty of people, I'll tell you, Olive Juice, that are public speakers, and they are not ready for what I'm sharing with you. They're not. They are professional speakers. They just go, they speak, it's friendly audiences most of the time, and it's straightforward, it's easy. But I don't want you I want you to be prepared for the easy, but you need to also be prepared for challenging, because sometimes there'll be question and answer sessions. And I've seen many public speakers that are very accomplished public speakers that are professionals that struggle with the Q&A, especially if the question brings them a little bit under pressure. So that's why we are here having a conversation. And in terms of the funds for training, because I remember your situation, that is fantastic that they gave you some funds for professional development. So congratulations on that. And Olive Juice says, does your website have pricing I can give her? Yes. So if you go to www.exciteexcellence.org, and under products and services, there's a couple master classes, and then there's a few services I offer as well. I have different promotions that happen if you're on the email list. It just depends on what's going on. But yes, I do have some prices there, and be absolutely happy to support you on your journey and get you to where you want to be in terms of that level of communication. one of the things that will help that person, likely based on what you mentioned about professional development, I would say executive coaching will most likely help that person. If they need help with speaking, that will help as well. I have a bit of a different philosophy with my clients that I work with, and I know this is outside of our topic, but one of the things that I notice that happens a lot in the coaching space, executive coaching, life coaching, and career coaching, and all of those type of different industries, is that there's this, you have to keep paying for services, and there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but my approach to my clients is that when we work together, I'm here to support you on your journey. I have clients of mine that I have worked with years ago that still contact me for questions. I don't tell them, oh, you asked me a question, you got to pay me X amount of dollars. No, I provide really support to my clients, even if we work together. If it's something that I feel like, okay, we probably need to have a more structured environment to help dive through this and see what's going on, then I'll say, okay, we need to talk about some options. But for the most part, my clients, I just had a client of mine just recently who just secured a multiple six-figure job opportunity. And she just texted me and just said, hey, I just want to get your insight in terms of how I can navigate my first day there. I'm new to the field, and etc. I have my clients reach out to me all the time. So I'm a little bit different as an executive coach. I really genuinely do want to support the wonderful women that I work with. I'm here to help them. That's my purpose of being here. And so I do provide a bit more support than what some other coaches do. But that's just me. I would want to have that support. If I've invested my time and invested my money into something, then I would want to be able to have someone to help me and support me on my journey, as long as it's not anything too overly dramatic and we have to work on it. I had a client of mine that actually, we did some interview preparation a couple months ago, and she had reached out to me because she was looking at another job opportunity, and we just had a quick 10-minute call and just talked. Was there any fees associated with that? No, because I really do care about my clients. I really, really do. And my clients are typically those very high achieving individuals, and I know they're trying to go to that next level in their careers, and I'm here to support them any way that I can. And so that's why I offer a bit more of an additional support than everybody else. So Olive Juice says, girl, I should contract you to help our leadership team in our finance department for a medical district. You are a dentist too. Would you be open to that? Absolutely, I would. I'm very, very much aware of the finance side of things, especially as it relates to healthcare. I worked as a C-suite executive in a healthcare organization, so I've been that person that's been on the back end that understands finance and how things go, and absolutely would be open to that. Feel free to just contact me and let's set some time, or just you can send me a message on my website at the email is info@exciteexcellence.org. But if you send anything on the contact us, it comes directly to me on my website. So feel free to reach out to me, let me know. Would be happy to support the leadership team and give them some insight in terms of just executive coaching, or if they're trying to prepare to be better speakers, or if they're just at a point where they just need a strategy. That's where a lot of my clients start with, is an executive strategy session. And it's basically an opportunity for me to understand what's the big picture. So what's the big picture of mine? And I'll give you the life cycle of a client of mine that went through the strategy session to give you some insight there. Olive Juice says, our CEO is a physician. Absolutely. Be happy to communicate. I've worked with physicians. I've been in healthcare for over 20 years now. And yes, I'm very comfortable with I've just been a C-suite. So I understand the C-suite language, what you're looking at, and some of the challenges that come up, especially when it relates to communication and sometimes in finance. I've dealt with some very interesting conversations as it relates to finance. And sometimes, depending on how things go, you have to really advocate for your department, become or what they should be. So absolutely, just contact me at www.exciteexcellence.org and just submit something under contact us. That's one option. Or you can just send me a message at info@exciteexcellence.org, or you're welcome to contact me on Instagram, also at Excite Excellence, or on LinkedIn at Dr. Jacinta Lamitai. There's a couple of those that are linked in the description below. So if you look at the description of this video, I will upload it as soon as I'm finished. You'll see that there's a couple of links there to contact me. So feel free to email me. And it's on my YouTube tab also, my email address. It does say info@exciteexcellence.org. Just email me and we'll schedule a time to chat. Of course, I would love to be able to speak with you, but we'll schedule a time to talk and come up with some options for your team so that we can help them get to where they need to be as leaders. So I appreciate you. So we've talked about a couple of things as it relates to controlling a conversation. And there's 2 strategies, depending on your situation, that you want to learn how to control those conversations. One of those conversations, you have to be able to ask questions. You have to ask questions if you need to control a conversation, because most people are not going to be ready for you and all those questions. That's how you control a conversation. Other is to use silence, especially if you have someone that is a bit upset. So this is something that you want to keep in mind. Silence is a skill that everybody needs to master. Absolutely. Olive Juice says, okay, I'll reach out by next week. Thank you. Absolutely, Olive Juice. I'm glad to be able to connect with you outside of YouTube. So absolutely just contact me. Let me know you're Olive Juice so I know who you are, because I get a lot of messages back and forth from other clients and etc. So really looking forward to communicating with you and your team. So we talked about those strategies and really appreciate all of the dialogue today. We had some really great conversations with Olive Juice and with Robert and with Rogan, I believe was the name. Rogan, yes, it was Rogan also. So I appreciate you all as well being here and giving some really good insight in terms of conversations that can happen. And I'm here to support you any way that I can. Just let me know what you need. If you have any specific situations that are happening to you that are a bit more challenging and you just don't feel like you want to have that conversation with somebody that you know, just come to the lives, let me know what's going on, and we'll have a conversation about it, and I'll help you the best way that I can to give you some structure, because I know how it is when you are a leader and you're in those situations where you feel like you have no one to talk to about it, because everyone is not necessarily at your level, or there's something that you're struggling with specifically and you're just not sure exactly, well, how do I go about navigating this situation, and etc. So I appreciate you all so much, and I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. I'm getting back into the swing of the live, so I will see you all in the morning. If you like this video, definitely want to check out the video as it relates to eye contact. That's the cowboy analogy that I mentioned, and your tone of voice also is another video on the live tab that will provide you with some advanced communication strategies to help you on your journey. So I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.